Hi,
Hello.
everybody. My name is Jenn E Norton, and this is
Wanda vanderStoop. Hi, from VTape.
and we're
In Toronto.
both from Canada. And VTape is presenting my work upstairs. Maybe some of you saw it with the augmented reality with the plants. And I wanted to talk about our relationship as an artist working with an artist-run center. So in Canada, there are several artist-run centers that what that means, it's a group of artists that run the center, or at least that's where its origins began.
Yeah, it's artist-run culture, basically. So many of those centers were founded by artists, and then those artists developed, and through research, working with international organizations, actually, like Lux in London. They're a distributor for specifically independent artists. Lima in the Netherlands and Amsterdam. Electronic Arts Intermix, maybe some of you know that organization in New York. They're all representing artists, and they're not for profit. So they are very different from commercial galleries because they are working very democratically to represent artists and to return usually a higher percentage of fees when they help them negotiate sales and rentals and exhibition and any kind of economic opportunity. They also work to try to find those economic opportunities by supporting the artist's work through the growth of their discipline. So very different from a commercial distributor that would take maybe one project and represent it for 2 years and then just give it back to you. Or they might try to take the ownership of it, but you can't do anything with it. And they're not really doing anything with it. So with artist-run culture, the focus is really to represent artists' rights and to represent the potential economy for artists and to make sure that artists see as much of that economy as possible. In Canada, there's about 12 artist-run centers across Canada, but it's kind of an unusual model, even for North America. Many of the Canadian organizations are very well funded at different levels of government, and so we can return between 50 and 70% of everything that we take in. Of everything that we take in for the artist, and we report back to the artist.
And something that I really appreciate in working with an artist-run center such as VTape or many of the others, especially the media art centers, because that's what I do, is that they're very much open to experimentation. So augmented reality is fairly new for us.
Totally.
And I had been making animations and videos that were narrative and installation work that VTape could distribute to film festivals, and maybe if a university was interested in buying a piece or something like that, and that it was fairly straightforward because, well, VTape had developed a system. And what I'm very appreciative of now is we're working together to figure out, well, how do you share augmented reality to people? Thinking about different operating systems and accessibility, and how is that archived? And so the thing that I find is unique is that maybe opposed to a commercial gallery, it's open to being objectless, and so it's not selling a mobile device with the apps on it per se, but it could be.
It could.
But, or it could be storing it.
Or it could be the content. And so it might be the app or the digital file, and then the requirement of the exhibition or exhibitor or museum is to actually maybe have a list of the equipment that's required, that they would be required to purchase, in order to enable the artwork. So it can work in a number of different ways. The challenge with augmented reality and virtual reality for us is and it always requires the collaboration of the artist. We have to be able to work hand in hand with the artist. That's kind of true of any installation, actually, because we want to make sure that the artist's work is represented exactly the way they want it to be represented. So it requires things like a lot of documentation, as much documentation perhaps of previous exhibitions as possible, a lot of support material, writing that may have been done about the work, as well as we have a document that we've developed in collaboration with curators and other organizations to outline exhibition requirements, so the artist can complete that form as loosely or as rigidly as they want, and then we provide that form to any exhibitors that are interested to make sure that they can see what is required and that they have everything in advance. And so we're troubleshooting before we even, get into the discussion. We're clear about what the budget is before we even, get into the discussion of taking on the work and things like that.
Artist-run culture also has a large learning component built into the granting process. So to be able to further develop your practice somehow is there's a lot of experimentation in that, but also access to technologies that you might not be able to afford as an artist, like maybe a specific type of computer to run something like Oculus Rift or something that is outside of your means. Artists can use this space to develop their skills, to produce work that in the end is still within the artist's ownership and authorship. So,
our organization and organizations like us, again, we're concerned with the artist is at the center of everything we do. We're concerned with the rights and the terms. So as a distributor, again, very different from commercial, we're not looking to negotiate specific rights from you to cover certain territories, or only if you ask us to, only if you're working with one or more other contracts. From our perspective, you own the work, it's in trust with us, and we distribute to worldwide markets on a non-exclusive basis, and then you have the control still to represent your own work as you wish.
And, kind of a personal aspect of this for me is that my first professional screening was in Spain 17 years ago in Barcelona for the 25 Hours Video Festival. And it was Wanda who called me and let me know that my work was selected. And so between that time when I made that video, my work has gone all over the place, from soft sculpture to robots. And sometimes I've been kind of off doing something, but it was really great to be able to have this opportunity 17 years later to show my work with VTape again in Spain. And it's just find a very welcoming, inclusive culture to have the artist's concerns at the center of this partnership.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure. We're honored to be here with you. I thought I would just, please come up and see the exhibition and to see Jenn's work if you haven't had a chance. I recognize faces, so I know some of you have. But I thought I would just show you really quickly our website. This website, it's very simple because we represent over 6,000 titles and over 2,000 artists. So that's a lot of information to load to a website. So we've kept it very simple and very sort of clean. We are working on the next iteration right now. We're working with designers right now to implement more active aspects. So we'll be soon rolling out different screens. So probably Vimeo screens for our internal programming, because we do programming at VTape. We also collaborate with a lot of other festivals, artist-run centers, universities sometimes, to animate programs to really keep the activity around the center very vibrant, and to keep young artists coming in so that they know that there are resources for them. VTape is not just a distributor, but we have a lot of resources as well, so we help a lot of young artists reach those resources by doing workshops, etc., around funding and around everything, things like that. So we will soon have Vimeo screens for programs. We'll highlight new artists coming in and things like that. And we will also be implementing a YouTube channel that's going to be focused on all the artist talks that we've done over the years. We've already got a lot of work collected. We just haven't made it live yet. So that will be the next iteration of this website. This landing page here just describes some of the upcoming events and programs that we've have on exhibition now. 5,000 titles. We've had a recent young artist from the U.S. come in to do a research residency to explore our collection, because we represent artists across the scope of their work, their discipline. We like to have everything. And the reason we like to have everything from an artist's work is because it creates a discourse around all the other work that they are making, but also the other work in the collection. So this work our collection becomes very, very researchable for programmers, curators, and students, and it gets used all the time. We have different ways of searching to try to bring, to try to make sure that there's discoverability. One of the things that's most used is like a keyword search, and that could be like anything. It could be like, flower, could be anything. And then this keyword search will kind of globally search our site, just like Google does the internet. Except, is it even going to work? Is it? Oh yeah, it's just going slow. And then we have different ways of pointing to new works to make, to highlight any new work that's coming in, because we represent, the internet's really slow today here. I think there's so much activity happening in the building that the internet's really slow. I'm going to stop that. I'm going to try something else. Try the artist index. So there's an artist index, so you can find artists you know, or you can just search for artists that you just go through the list to see if there's people that you're familiar with. It's really slow. What's going on? Yeah. I hope your work is up on the preview site.
There it is.
So there's Jenn Norton. And so what we do when we take an artist's work in is we get a biography. So this is the biography right here. And then it is followed by the list of titles, the videography, the list of titles that's represented. And then there should actually ideally be a bibliography. So it's been a while since Jenn has been in touch with VTape and vice versa. So we need to update, because there's been a lot of writing about Jenn's work. And normally under this videography, there would be a bibliography that would have a code and a description for articles related to all of the artist's work. And then, let's see. Then we have a preview site that is not, it's not live from our website yet. And the reason that we do that is because we have so many titles. We're on a platform that is very affordable, so it's kind of vulnerable. So we keep the preview site private, but you can contact us and then we'll give you access to the preview site. And it's listed alphabetically. This is going to change too, actually. We're moving to a new company very soon that has a lot more flexibility and a lot more facility around analytics and things like that. Some titles here, that's good.
And VTape has, when did VTape come into existence?
1982.
1982. So a lot of curators and film festivals know that they can come to VTape and ask, well, the festival is kind of rooted in this theme this year. What can you suggest? And then everybody's familiar with, especially the new and the classic ones, and that works at VTape, and they can offer a customized list to those programmers, which is really amazing. And that's how the 25 Hours Film Festival in Barcelona happened.
It's true, and it also happened because of Manuel Saiz, who's Spanish artist whose work we represent, along with other organizations that represent his work. So we represent a large percentage of Canadian, but we also represent international artists as well. Is anything here that you'd like to look at?
Oh, no.
Shimura?
No.
No? Really? It's such a great
There
piece.
is We Requiem on there.
I think so. Yeah.
So this is almost 10 years old, but
Oh, it's almost 10 years old. This is just our preview site, though. And we're so right now, because actually just before we arrived here, our preview site was down. So we loaded Jenn's new work to another site that isn't public yet, but it's one that we're going to be using very soon. So we're still using this because we managed to fix it. This is the dark side of artist-run culture and dealing with limited funds. Like, you're always kind of, in a way, it's very funny dichotomy. On one hand, you're on the cutting edge of new ideas because you're working outside of any institutions that have limitations. But on the other hand, you're on the trailing edge of technology because of limited funds and things like that. However, what that does sometimes is that it you wait out all the mistakes in the technology that's developing, and then you watch other people's mistakes, and then you take on the new technology when it's actually working well, and thereby saving thousands of dollars.
unless you have an augmented reality artist, and then you're like, I don't know.
No, but this is the thing, though. That's the dichotomy, is that we're always working with artists that are taking us into completely new areas. So we do have artists now with virtual reality projects as well, and really complex installation. But that's when we work really closely with the artists, and we have to, figure out, and that's why it's great to come to this kind of a situation, to see how things work, how the audience responds, what kind of information might make it better, what kind of tools we might need, and things like that. It's really an exploration. And then these are like lower res files, they're watermarked, and it's because we make them available, so we don't want them to be used without authorization and all that stuff.
I hope none of you
So.
get queasy from mice, because it's. Sorry if this is gross. That's
Stop.
we probably should say thank you for having us. And sorry for those of you who shook my hand, because now you might know. I don't regularly pet dead mice. It's only on special occasions.
Anyway, there you have it. So this is going to be actually, we're changing this preview site as well. So the next preview site that we're going to be using, the company we're working with, actually works with Netflix as well. But they're an amazing company, and they are very secure, and they so we'll be able to upload MP4s, nicer quality, higher resolution, and we won't need to use the watermark anymore, because when you send out a screener, you can watermark it with the person's email address or their IP address, so they can never rip you off. So it's but it means that it'll look a lot nicer.
Well, thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions about VTape or any?
So since you're using a lot of technology, do you is interactivity a concern of yours? Like, how can the public take part in just envisioning, I don't know, maybe playing in some.
Yes, some of the works I've made are interactive, and especially the installation work where it's using sensors, or maybe something's voice activated. I made a big inflatable thing that inflated when you yelled at it and shook and illuminated. And so that's something I think about. And then when it comes to augmented reality, I've had a couple of apps where I've made it and I use it and it's fine, but then someone with a bit different body type uses it, like a child or someone who's smaller than I am, and suddenly it's too close to the camera, and it's like you can't read it. So it's really interesting to think about how other people see things and how other people use things and what's accessible to who. So it is something that I think about a lot. Also when it comes to technology, like who can really afford to use some of the technologies that I'm using? So I always try to make it accessible in galleries. I'm not sure in Spain, because I haven't had a chance to walk around yet and visit galleries, but a lot of them are free in Canada to enter. So I provide the technology for people to use, and often that's through partnerships with places like VTape, or someone, maybe university, will donate their iPads for a certain amount of time. But definitely something I'm thinking about. Thank you so much.
Thank you.